Hey everyone, we have a new product coming in already. I know that seems to be the story of 2020. Well, one of the many subplots of 2020 is just constant Magic releases, and this one, the Commander Collection Green, I think that's actually what it's called. Let's just double check on that. Yes, Commander Collection Green, which of course assumes that there's going to be one for each color at least. Maybe we'll have the guilds and stuff down the line, but CC1, as it's called, starts out here with Freyalise Llanowar's Fury. She is a commander printing that it's a planeswalker that can also be used as your commander, originally seen in, I believe, Commander 2014, and reprinted in Anthology as well, I believe. And it's a fun commander, creates Llanowar elves, can destroy enchantments or artifacts, and a minus that can draw a ton of cards, and it's a fine card that has some value to it. Omnath, Locus of Mana. Omnath in all his forms has been a very popular entity with casual players. This one, you don't lose unspent green mana as mana steps and phases end, is a pretty cool effect for big ramping green decks that can just create insane amounts of mana. And he also gets +1/+1 for each unspent mana, so he gets gigantic, which is a fun effect, or you can use it for other things if you're not just looking to smash with a giant green creature. Bane of Progress, another commander card. This one, when it enters the battlefield, you destroy all artifacts and enchantments and put a +1/+1 counter on it for each permanent destroyed this way. If you've played Commander, you know that mana rocks are very much a thing for everything from Soul Ring to Signets to Talismans. People play all sorts of mana acceleration in the form of artifacts, and this guy just is a absolute wrecking ball, being a giant creature and setting everybody else back on mana. If you're building that type of deck, you're probably relying on creatures for your mana ramp, as elves can do a lot of good for commander decks. Even if you're not in a elf tribal, you can probably get away with running Llanowar, Elvish Mystic, Fyndhorn. Even Priest of Titania is not an unreasonable card. Quirn Ranger, I mean, a nice little subset of elves can really help out a green deck when you're ramping. Seedborne Muse with radically different art. This is very much in line with the spirits in the Kamigawa world, the Kami, and it's actually got Azusa in the flavor text as well. Seedborne Muse, commander staple, solid inclusion here, as most green decks are going to enjoy being able to get that extra untap step for each player's turn, and really is one of the things that makes Commander special, is the fact that it's generally a multiplayer format, and this leans right into that. Seedborne Muse in a 2-player game is just kind of okay, but in a 4 or 5-player game, I mean, that is just going to do a ton of heavy lifting, especially with things like Omnath, where you're just constantly sinking your mana to good effect. Sylvan Library, I'm not going to lie, off the top of my head, I don't get this. It's a library. Like, be quiet. Like, what are you doing playing a freaking guitar? Like, it's a really weird art choice to me. I don't get it. I guess it's supposed to be like monks passing on knowledge, but like, doesn't seem like a library to me. Anyways, it's a great Magic card, despite the art, which is interesting. I mean, it's visually interesting art. I just don't see how it fits in with the Sylvan Library theme. This is definitely going to be worth a bit, as the original Sylvan Libraries have gone insane. Like, Legends ones are crazy. Even the EMA ones are worth a bunch. The card's just incredibly good. And I guess to get into the economic side of things for this video, I think it's important that people kind of recognize the amount of heavy lifting that casual players are doing right now in setting the prices of Magic cards. For a long time, you could point to Vintage as a format that defined the values of Magic cards. It has been a very long time since that was the case. Legacy kind of picked up that mantle after and carried that up until, I would say, fairly recently. Right now, if we're taking a look at things like dual lands or fetch lands, Gaia's Cradle is a perfect example. To my eye, what I'm seeing is casual players getting more sophisticated, almost as if they are a single player on a very slow journey. So when I take a look at casual players, they've followed the same type of things that players followed back in the day. So one of the first things that players cast aside was the idea of net decking. For years, people thought net decking was cheesy and cheap and almost cheating and like a scummy thing to do. And eventually, after getting their faces stomped in repeatedly over time, people just kind of acknowledge that it's like, okay, I mean, maybe it's fine. Like maybe this is just a thing that like is going to make me less awful at the game, which is the case. I mean, working with other people is what net decking is. You are taking a look at other people trying to solve the same problems as you and getting inspiration and learning from them. Overall, it's a very positive thing, but some people, when they start out, are kind of maladjusted to reality and they have their own ideas, and it takes them a while to shake them off, and it holds them back while they hold these bad ideas. But it's something that they have to contend with and grapple with over time, and eventually, what I would say is mature to the point where they can net deck and learn from it. And now, that's what we've seen with casual players. Things like EDH Rec and other sites, casual players openly refer to them and talk about them, and they'll come into the shop looking for ideas, and they'll kind of look to elaborate on things that they've seen on these websites. So what I'm seeing with casual players is they are actually following the same type of line that an actual player, like in aggregate, they are following the same path that an individual followed in the early days of Magic. And what are those lessons? Those are lessons like mana acceleration. That one they picked up pretty easily. Commander, from the beginning, has been about things like Soul Ring and Mana Rocks, things like card advantage. But now, also things like Force of Will. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say in Commander, Force of Will is not very good. And they can only say that so many times until they're just like, oh yeah, I played a game-winning card and I had Force backup, so I just win instead of just losing. And that's what we're really seeing, is people are learning what cards are actually legitimately good, and Sylvan Library is hella good. Like, this card is insane, especially in Commander where you've got 40 life. Are you kidding me? You're just drawing all sorts of free cards off of this thing. And, of course, every time you're shuffling, you're getting a look at brand new cards. So I think my takeaway here is casual players are now setting the price for many Magic cards. They are a huge populace. They have moved into buying singles very, very comfortably. Like, we are deep into that trend. Casual players straight up buy singles. It used to be they just buy packs. Now we're seeing these huge run-ups in cards based off of casual players understanding and being sophisticated enough to know that it's not the best way to get cards to just buy booster packs. Like, you actually want to buy the cards that you actually want. That's the easiest way to solve that problem. If you want a card, buy the card. It's not rocket science to those of us that have been doing it for 25 years. But if you think back to the early days of Magic, yeah, I mean, people really didn't like that idea. They just didn't like the idea of buying individual cards. So casual players have really evolved and matured quite a bit in their level of sophistication, that they interact with the game and acquiring the cards and valuing the cards. And I think Sylvan Library is going to do incredibly well. This version, we'll see what the market sets all of these cards at, but this is an incredibly powerful card, one which is good enough for Legacy and also very good in casual play. And I think those are cards that are really, those are dangerous cards right now. Let's put it that way. Those are really cards that are a good idea to have in your collection when we're talking about things that are Legacy playable. So we're going to kind of define the power level as like good enough to compete in an extremely powerful format, but also is good for casual play. And when that's the case, that is a excellent combination. Worldly Tutor, this is more just along the lines of casual play. Worldly Tutor, not so much a Legacy playable card. I would expect this price to cool off quite a bit, given that it's basically just bringing more supply to a card that is basically just played in Commander. So something like Grim Tutor is a good example of that. That card is not legacy playable for the most part. Fringe playable maybe in like a Storm deck, but for the most part it's just not a mainstream accepted card. And Worldly Tutor kind of in that same space. It's really not a legacy card. It's something that casual players and Commander players are going to have a lot of fun with. And Tutors in Commander are very good at undermining the main problem of Commander, so to speak, the main challenge, which is every game plays out differently. So as a deck gets more and more Tutors, it can more reliably assemble combos for good or bad. That's just the reality of it. And Worldly Tutor can enable that in a pretty fair way. I mean, you're losing the top card of your library, you're down a card, and you're also vulnerable to shuffle effects. So, I mean, it's a fair Magic card, to be sure. Soul Ring. This is not notable for its inclusion, but the way that they included it. So this is a green Soul Ring. Like, this is a new concept here. This Soul Ring has a green flavor. You've got the leaves swirling around this tree stump, and it has a real green flavor to it. Of course, it still taps for 2 colorless, but if you're playing a green deck in Commander, what better Soul Ring for many players? I mean, obviously, I'm not going to argue with you if you want to play Alpha, but like a casual green Commander deck is going to be really psyched to have this. And also Command Tower, same thing. We've got the trees leaning toward the Command Tower, it drawing mana from the earth, it would seem, and a really cool piece of art, very atmospheric, and again, fits the green side of things. Now, this one's a little weird in that if you're a mono green deck, you're probably not even going to play Command Tower because it's just a vulnerable non-basic land that taps for green. You might as well play a forest. But that said, if you are skewing green, I mean, this is a really cool option, and I think a sign of what's to come. I expect, a blue Soul Ring down the line, which is going to be really cool. I mean, obviously, I'm tipping my hand a little bit. I like blue. I actually just like winning is probably what it mostly is, because that's why I like blue, is because it lets you win. It's not nothing personal or anything. It's not like it's my favorite color. I like the color green more than I like the color blue. But when I'm playing Magic, I do like to win, and I'm very interested to see in the future what these other Commander collections end up being. Let me know what you think about these. Are you excited about it? Where do you see the prices going? And just general vibe of this product. Is it too much? Are you psyched? Are you overwhelmed? Let's hear about it in the comments and hash out what to make of this new Commander product that Wizards is dropping on us very soon. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.